South Carolina is one of the leading conservative voices in the Congress and in the nation. He has been a tireless advocate for smaller government, individual liberty, and strong national defense and traditional values. Senator DeMint has earned national acclaim for his work to end the system of earmarks, and we salute him for his courage to stand up to the big spenders in Congress. His efforts have stopped over 10,000 wasteful projects in county. As a father and grandfather, Senator DeMint is a friend to young people and is working hard to ensure a brighter future for our generation. Please give a warm TARS welcome to Senator Jim DeMint. You're way ahead of your peers if you're conservative at your age, because the normal pattern is when you're young and you see something that needs to be done, is it makes sense, let's let the government do it. If education's important, let the government do it. If healthcare is important, let the government do it. And that's the way to be charitable and compassionate. That's generally the mindset of folks until they start working and paying taxes and having to get through the hard parts of life and realize that those who have generally work for what they've got, and they don't want to give it to someone else who hasn't worked. But you're ahead of where I think a lot of young folks are, and it's really important that we do a better job in this country of helping people to understand that what's happening now in Washington, a lot of the bad decisions are being made about the spending and debt. It affects you more than it does me. I mean, you're going to pay for it with higher taxes, lower quality of life, less opportunity in the job market, because as we shift more and more of the dollars from the private sector to government, which is what we've done, there's less opportunity in the private sector. So I want to talk a little bit about the two different perspectives of kind of in the political world, and really the world in general today, that I think will help you understand what we're fighting for as Republicans, because it's not really about a Republican and Democrat, my team and your team, you know, Clemson versus University of South Carolina. That's not what it's about. I mean, it's not just two people or people with two different ideas that are up here debating. It's two different worldviews. If you listen to what President Obama has said several times, like several weeks ago, the private sector's fine. You know, this week he said, if you have a business, if you started a business, you didn't build it. He's basically saying the government did, because the government provides the roads, the bridges, and you can't do business without the government. And what he's revealing about his worldview is if you look at the kind of the world as a circle with all the things that are involved with it in that circle, I mean, he sees the government in the middle as being the one that basically drives everything else. Think the decisions in your life, if you think of what he's trying to do, control healthcare, education, energy, transportation, I mean, he sees the government in the middle and providing for businesses the opportunity to start businesses and providing for people. He talks about partnering with business. He sees the government as the central aspect of our life. And that is a political view that is held around the world. But America has always been different from the very beginning. And I think if we forget what makes us different, then we don't understand what really made us prosperous and what made us great. Because we're not a superior people. Our people are from all over the world. They came here from all over the world. But they were unusually brave and adventurous people in the beginning to come here. But our worldview in America is, if you look at the sphere of your life, in the center of that is the individual. And around the individual are all the institutions we interact with, from the family to the church to volunteer organizations to state and local governments and the federal government. It's all around us. But the whole point of setting up government, we the people set up the government, if you remember that. It's not, the government did not set us up. We the people formed the government to do things that we could not do ourselves, like defend our nation and build roads, police forces, and things like that. There's a role for government, but it's set up to serve us. And if you think about it, all the funds that we have here at the federal level, all the money that we get from taxes, comes from successful business or successful enterprise. Because there are no taxes, people don't pay taxes unless they have a job. Businesses don't pay taxes unless they make a profit. There are no sales taxes unless they're transactions. And there's no property tax if people don't have a job and can own things. So everything we have, quite the opposite of what President Obama talks about, everything we have in government comes from the private sector. And in fact, the things that he's been doing, the policies, are really top-down ideas where let's get the government to spend more, and that's going to stimulate the economy. But that's not how America works. America is a bottom-up nation with millions of individuals making their own decisions about what they want to do and what they want, what they value. And one of the, I guess, best examples of that freedom and pure democracy is the internet, which all of you enjoy. You can engage in anything you want all over the world through the internet. Make your own decisions about buying things, talking to people, all of it. It's complete freedom. And believe me, countries in the United Nations, a lot want to get a hold on that and control it because it gives people so much power to determine things about their own life. But that is really a showcase of what America is all about. It's individuals in charge of their own lives. And the money you make does not belong to the government. It's your money. And we should only take what we have to do the job that the people ask us to do, those things they can't do for themselves. We don't need to run your health care or your education. We don't need to tell states where to build their roads and bridges. We don't need to tell South Carolina and other states they can't go after natural gas and other energy sources in their own states. But they're two different worldviews. And I think as you go out among your peers, and this is not a political argument as much as it is how you view the world. And I'm a conservative not because it's a political philosophy. It's because I grew up as an individual and worked. I started my own business. I had my own family, was responsible for myself, and I saw what worked in this country. And it was not what government did. It was what people did. But when people come together and work and do things and make the community better. And that's why I'm a conservative, because I believe in those things that work. And I can see those things that don't. Folks, there's a tendency by, I guess, the liberal side to say, if something's important, let the government do it. That's kind of where I started. That's kind of that naive, youthful idea. Education is really important. Golly, let the federal government do it. We did that back in the 70s. We had the best education system in the world in the 70s. The best and brightest students, no question about it. And we decided to form the Department of Education and get the federal government more involved to make it better. It's been going downhill ever since. We spend twice as much. There are 10 times more, we've added 10 times more teachers than students over the last couple of decades. And scores are static. But we're spending a whole lot more money. We spend more per capita than any country in the world, and we're losing ground for most other nations. And the same we're trying to do with healthcare right now. Healthcare is really important for everyone, so let's let the federal government run it. A lot of us are still fighting it because we know it doesn't work. You can see it in little microcosms of things like cash for clunkers. Did y'all follow that? Where we thought we needed to stimulate car sales, less energy, or use less energy, better gas mileage. So we had a program. We set aside $2 billion for it, It was supposed to last through the year. It was out of money in 2 weeks. And it was so much fraud of people who said they were going to destroy these old cars. They bought them and they resold them. And the only cars we sold were foreign cars for the most part. You know, it was kind of a stupid federal idea that we thought we could run things. So my point to you today is this country is so exceptional. You are so blessed to be Americans. You, like I have, been given a sacred trust of a country that people have fought and died for, that can give you more opportunity and prosperity than any place in the world. There's no reason to think America is on some kind of permanent decline that we can't stop. But the future is in the hands of the people. And what concerns me is if you look at what this administration has done over the last 4 years, the promises that were made about the jobs that would be created and the debt that would be reduced, and none of that has happened. In fact, it's gone in the opposite direction. And you've still got nearly half of Americans who have a favorable opinion of what this president is doing. Even though our country has gone into a steep decline, we spent more on economic stimulus than any time in our history. We've accumulated more debt than any time in our history. None of the promises have come true. So we're right on the edge of a cliff, in my mind, of having enough voters who have the good common sense to say, that's not how America works. We got the individual in the middle. We're a bottom-up country. We are at our best when we're free. And what's happening now is a centralization of control of all aspects of our lives is deteriorating our culture and our economy. We need to change it. But there's still time. This election is very important. I don't frankly know how we could deal with 4 more years of where we are with the level of debt and what we're doing. But Americans have solved a lot of problems in the past, and we will in the future. But to what degree you can get involved and have an influence on your peers, and I assume many of you will be voting for the first time. How many of you will be voting this time? A lot of, okay. If you can take one person with you, you've done a great service to your country. Because if you follow what happens around the world, when we went in and freed Iraq and let them vote for the first time in generations, they had over 70% of the people voting, even though they could have been killed when they were voting. Last election in America was supposed to be a big election, Tea Party election. Only 29% of people over 18 voted in America. We can do better than that. And I think a lot of the people who are voting now are those who want more from government, who are dependent on government and want more from government. We've got to get people who know better active and engaged. That's what you're doing up here. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but I appreciate you taking the time to come to D.C. To get more informed. I hope you're not discouraged about what we're doing. You're not a tourist here, you're a stockholder, so don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This is your place, and I hope you will be leaders in a new generation of Americans that retake our place in the world, and I think you will be. So thanks for letting me be here, and I enjoyed talking.